What the United States needs to be doing is pursuing peace and diplomacy. We are in a global pandemic. Like, we're still in the middle of COVID, right? There's huge swaths
not
of the
according to the
globe.
Biden administration
Yeah,
in the New York Times.
It's over. Now that Russia's invaded Ukraine, COVID's over. Let's reroute all the COVID relief just to more advanced weaponry to Ukraine. I mean, you really cannot make this stuff up. But we're in such a topsy-turvy dystopian hellhole that it's hard to actually imagine us using our role as this global power in a good way, actually pursuing policies that advance peace and security. What a novel idea. I mean, look at what we did in response to like China in the wake of COVID, sending syringes and PPE. It was like, oh, China's just currying favor. So even when a so-called enemy or U.S. adversary does do something that is trying to help alleviate the suffering of this global pandemic, oh, it's cynical, it's exploiting, the pandemic to curry favor. But when we do it, when we do anything, it's good. It's all with good intentions. Well, what about these draconian sanctions on Latin America, Venezuela, Cuba during a pandemic? Cuba can't get syringes for their population. So I do think that it's an interesting thought experiment because it's so far off from reality. But it's not impossible to have a utopian vision of what we want to see our role in the world and work to advance that vision, as impossible as it may seem. We have to, we must, because there's no other option.
What about the specific question of the sitting of arms? There's so much discourse around how much we're supposed to care about Nazis this time. Basically, there are a lot of people who feel as though the numbers or significance or relevance of the Nazi militia and the prevalence of imagery that has come out with Ukrainian soldiers wearing either the blood and soil red and black flag or that other, I guess, sun thing symbol. There's some people on the left who say that's being overstated. And it's basically taking kind of a Russian line on things. There's some people who say it's, immoral for us to be aligning with this group that doesn't just like have a few Nazis sprinkled in and who have popped up out of nowhere, but who have had kind of a long historical relationship in Western Ukraine for reasons that I'm not qualified to get into, but, have read about with kind of identifying with Nazis going back to World War II. Should we be sending weapons, period? And how much does the fact that there are these right-wing elements among the Ukrainian army, how much should that, affect that decision-making?
It's absolutely insane. And this is another instance where it's just a total binary of black and white, no nuance, no context whatsoever. And it's kind of scary because of Putin's rhetoric of the denazification is ludicrous, right? And of course, that's not justified. And of course, he's embellishing and exaggerating the role of Nazism and basically alleging that all of Ukraine is a Nazi regime. I mean, that couldn't be farther from the truth. But at the same time, Nazis do have power. The Nazi party, I guess, got like 2% of the vote electorally, but the armed forces have folded in several regiments of neo-Nazis into the established military apparatus. And I'm sorry. I mean, I, too, thought that it was being overblown and was, and it was like being completely exaggerated by some on the left. But the more I see images coming out from the mainstream media, it is fascinating because it does call into question how prevalent is the neo-Nazi contingent and why is it that the mainstream media can't help themselves but continue to glorify neo-Nazis every single day. Whether it's AP with these heroic images of people emblazoned with these neo-Nazi emblems, PBS doing this doing this positive interview with this mayor who's an open neo-Nazi who said that he wants to kill Russian cockroaches. It's very insane, the level of kind of disingenuous propaganda coming out that, frankly, it wouldn't be hard for these mainstream media outlets to not do this. So it really begs the question, why are they doing it? It can't be willful ignorance at this point. Like maybe back in 2014 at the very beginning, like, yeah, I got it. But now, here we are knowing that this has been a problem. And the fact that it's just kind of brushed off as Russian propaganda is also a problem because you can see with your own eyes